Hello and welcome everyone to News Effect. This is a Flickr Effect podcast where each week we count down the top 10 news items of the week from the world of film, television, and pop culture. By the way, we're recording this on September 18th, 2016. I'm David Lotz. Joining me as always are Bobby Jackson and Jascha Wilson. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Hey. Good.
Time to talk some news.
Yeah.
News. We're going to count down the top 10 news items of the week. For this, I turn it over to the news expert, Mr. Bobby Jackson.
Number 10.
See, Jascha, you can just do the countdown. Jascha, will you do the countdown for us this week?
I will be happy to do the countdown and contribute that because I have no idea what's happening in the news, but I want to contribute as best as I can.
All right, so.
Number 10.
All right, so it looks like we've got a little bit casting news. It seems like every week we get some casting news about some movie or another. It's usually either one we've heard of the movie being in development, or it's something brand new and the actor being attached to this thing we've never heard of seems exciting. But in this case, it is something that we do know about already as something in development, which is the Predator film. And we got word this past week, that Benicio del Toro is in early talks to star in Predator. And there's no really big word on who he would be playing, other than some information I saw on the internet said that he would probably be the head person in charge of like a team that would be in this new Predator movie. So I found that to be pretty good news, because Benicio del Toro has been on a good track lately with some of the movies he's been picking. And with him boarding Predator, as far as I can remember, I think he's the first actor that I've heard on it. I can't remember if anyone else at this moment is on board with it as well. And we do know that Shane Black is directing it. So knowing that Benicio is on there, it made me get a little bit more excited for this movie, and hopefully we have something to see from it soon, because I don't think, I don't even remember when it's scheduled to come out, but I do believe it, if I'm not mistaken, it's sometime towards fall of next year, I think.
See, I like the idea of that too, because I think Benicio's a badass, and when he gets out there and does his thing, he's really damn good. So I'm all on board for Benicio joining that, and one badass plus another badass hopefully equals a badass movie. And I mean, Benicio plus the Predator equals awesomeness.
Yeah. No, that's a good casting for a franchise that, I love the first movie, but lately the stuff we've seen from it is not like Benicio del Toro level quality,
Yeah, it just seems desperate to try and keep the franchise going, but it's like they were rushing it, or didn't want to put that much effort into a story or whatever they were doing, but it feels like they're trying to do it right this time.
Nice.
And with Shane Black behind the role, it just feels like it might be a little bit stronger.
And both of you guys, you've seen Nice Guys, right?
Sadly, no, I have not.
Oh, you gotta watch
this up. Can we just add this to the list of things that you make us sad about, David? Let's just do that.
It's a long, long list, man. If you want to put it on there, you feel free. If you got room on your piece of paper.
Yeah, but this should go towards the top of your list, because it's Shane Black. It's a good movie where everyone is always about not original stuff, and this is that. And it's like, I really think you would thoroughly enjoy it. So I really hope that you kind of, at some point in time, can kind of play catch up when you start doing your movies before Oscars and
before top 10.
Yeah, and try and get a chance to watch it.
I love cramming movies before top 10. It's my favorite pastime.
Yeah. It should be a pastime for you at this point, because it seems like it happens yearly as an event. So
yes. I try not to disappoint.
But yeah, I think if you get a chance, check it out, and it'll be Shane Black's next one with the Predator. So hopefully that turns out as well as much as I liked the Nice Guys.
Nice. Moving on.
Number 9.
Well, I know right now there's a lot of insurance adjusters that are shaking in their boots right about this moment, because Mission Impossible 6 is back on track, and Tom Cruise is finally signed to be back into the movie series. And you know how Tom does it. He does it big style. So I'm sure he's going to be doing some big, huge thing where last time he was out of hanging from a plane. So he's going to go big again. And the insurance people are going to be nervous. So I'm glad we talked about this either last week or the week before, where it looked like they were holding out, or he at least was holding out, because they had not resolved being paid or what he wanted to get paid. And we finally got that all settled, and production is set to begin in the spring of 2017 with Christopher McQuarrie directing. So he also had previously directed Rogue Nation. So he will be returning writing and directing for this film. And man, it's like, all right, I'm glad to hear that news. Now let's get back on track, because I need to see that movie in terms of where we're going, because it's amazing how a movie, other than, I would say the only other franchise that I know of that seems like it tries to top itself each time out is probably Fast and Furious. And Mission Impossible is right there with, like, we got to go bigger every time and pull out some crazy stunt. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they try and do next.
But yeah, and even Mission Impossible is at least doing it really well. Like, I
Well,
mean, I
yeah.
get what you're saying with Fast and Furious, but like for me, like the last film I was disappointed, and they seem to go bigger every time, but sometimes to ridiculous levels. And
Yeah, of course.
this is
No, I'm with you on that. as
yeah,
well.
and then and also the other comparison is the Bond franchise seems to be somewhat dead at this point. I mean, don't get me wrong, it'll be back for sure, but you know, it doesn't look like we're gonna have the same Bond anymore. And the last film was ho hum, and Mission Impossible is definitely doing it right. So yeah, I don't think any of us doubted that this movie was gonna happen back when the news came out that, oh, it's on hold. You know, we should be worried. Like, no, it's
not at
going
all.
to be fine. It wasn't set to start shooting until, like, I think January anyway. So,
Yeah.
No, this
They were
is
gonna
definitely
come
good
around.
news.
Absolutely.
Number 8.
Well, right meow, I got some good news for anybody who's a Super Troopers fan, because it looks like we're finally in production, and we just heard recently that Rob Lowe has joined the cast for Super Troopers 2. So I don't know how long it's been since the original Super Troopers came out. I believe it was like 2001 or somewhere around there. But I remember seeing this movie in the theater and just laughing my head off. I mean, it was one of those things that just kind of came out of nowhere and caught you off guard, because you're not expecting the level of humor that they're going for in this. And it was just so hilarious. And so knowing that we're finally past the point where they had their Kickstarter, and I think they were going for 2 million as an initial goal, and they end up raising 4.5 million. So now we're actually in production, and they even had a picture of everyone from the cast, and I swear they look almost exactly like they looked back in 2001 without really even aging. And so that's awesome. But yeah, it looks like we're finally getting that sequel, and it's rolling along. So I don't know, where do you guys stand on the whole Super Troopers thing? Did you guys see it when it first came out, or did you kind of catch it on Blu-ray after a while hearing about it, or what was your initial thoughts on the film?
Go ahead, Jascha.
I honestly can't remember. Genuinely can't remember if I saw it in the theater or if I saw it on home video. I do remember, though, my experience when I did see it. I was laughing from start to finish. I want to say it was in the theater, and I have been a fan of these guys since then. And I mean, I like Jay Chandrakshar, whatever his name is, how you pronounce it. I had it in my head a second ago, and I just completely destroyed it right now. I think it's funny. Like, I mean, I love Super Troopers, and I loved Beer Fest. Club Dread was okay. The Dukes of Hazzard was okay. It had moments of grandeur, but it wasn't the greatest. But I really enjoyed Beer Fest, and I really enjoyed Super Troopers. My friends and I still quote Super Troopers and Beer Fest to this day. So I'm stoked when I saw that they were coming out, and they had the GoFundMe or Kickstarter to see if they could get it going. And then, like, when I was going to donate, and I looked, and it's like they were going for, like, what was it, like $1 million or 2 million, and they had already crossed that threshold by a lot. Like, they were at 4 million. I was like, well, shit, I don't need to do anything. Like, this is gonna get made. Like, and it's like their promotional video for it was amazing. Like, they're all about it. I hope it lives up to the first one, and they have some really good ideas of what to do, and they just don't try to go too over the top. Because I enjoyed the hell out of the first one, and I can't wait to see the second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed the first one, and I mean some of their other films. Yeah, they haven't been as good for me, but I've enjoyed some of them, and no, I'm excited about the next Super Troopers.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh.
Again, I don't know when it comes out specifically, but hopefully it will be sometime next year if they're starting production this year.
Yeah.
Number 7.
Well, looks like Zack Snyder has been busy on Twitter. This week, he gave us two things from the Justice League film. In the beginning of the week, the first thing that he gave us was a picture of Ben Affleck in the Batman suit, but in a new suit. It's called a tactical bat suit, which it still looks like Batman, but it's just the dark black and more like some goggles he's kind of wearing, almost kind of like not to the same degree, but something like what Catwoman might wear, and to where she can kind of see at night, sort of thing. It has that sort of look to it, but it looks pretty. It looks pretty badass, I gotta say. And
Though, am I the
don't
only
know.
one that had the? I mean, as soon as I saw the photo, and don't get me wrong, I do agree with you. I think it looks good. But immediately I'm like, it looks like Night Owl, like from the
Yeah.
Snyder Watchmen film. Like the goggles
Yeah, but
look
have you
extremely similar.
Have
It
you
is.
seen that meme that's out there where it says Batman is slapping Robin, and he says, "Your costume looks like Night Owl," and then he slaps him and he says, "Night Owl was based on me." He says, "Keep it going," and I was like,
Nice.
"Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty clever."
I didn't see that, but
No, I
yeah,
hadn't seen that one either.
David, you make a good point, and especially since you're only seeing it from the head-on angle, you see the ears, and they kind of almost look like they sort of angled point backwards as opposed to like sticking straight up,
Mhm.
and so it kind of gives it also that owl kind of look as well. So yeah, it definitely does, but aside from that, it does look pretty badass though.
No, it does.
And the other picture he tweeted out a little bit later in the week was a picture of Commissioner Jim Gordon by the bat signal, and you don't see him in the foreground. He's sort of off to the side near the opening of where the top of the building is, or the rooftop access, and he's wearing his sort of like a traditional type of a trench coat, and it's a black and white photo, and you see him kind of looking up in the sky, and he's got the glasses on and sort of like the bowler kind of hat as well. And it's like, man, at first I had to look real hard because I was like, is that J.K. Simmons? And I was like, because it doesn't quite look like him, but it does. And so I was like, okay, I see what they're doing there, and it's like that's definitely Jim Gordon, and so it looks good as well. So I'm like really on track for some of the things that they're starting to show for the Justice League film, that even though we still have seen a trailer, and for me, I was convinced then, I'm still wanting to see a little bit more to sort of put me over the top in terms of being, at least from the trailer perspective, of being convinced that I'm going to get something good, because a lot of people will attest that the trailers have been good for a lot of the DC movies. It's just the execution once you see the actual film
Right.
has sort of fallen short. So
Yeah.
I'm still need some convincing, but these things help for sure.
Yeah, I mean the imagery, and the same thing has happened in the previous films, like you just said. You know, I mean the imagery we were seeing for Man of Steel, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be mind blowing. And don't get me wrong, I in the end did enjoy Man of Steel, though it wasn't quite as good as I'd hoped. And then, you know, we all know how Batman vs Superman went. And, you know, but yeah, this picture of Gordon, man, looks like such iconic classic, especially because of the black and white photo and what he's wearing with the trench coat. And yeah, it looks really good. It is funny though, too, like that Zack Snyder is one of those few Twitter users that for whatever reason I have his notifications turned on. So when he tweets, I get them immediately. And, you know, it was Batman Day that he tweeted that one, the one with the J.K. Simmons. And he had done a tweet just before that where, you know, I wasn't near my phone at the time. So I got it on my watch, and I just see the hashtag Batman Day and hashtag Justice League, and that there's a picture. So I seriously run to my phone, and it's like just a picture of Zack Snyder in front of the bat signal. And I'm like, seriously, is this all you're going to send us? Like, come on, man. You know, and part of me wonders if he got like a reaction like that. And because it was only like 5-10 minutes later that he tweeted out that next photo of J.K. Simmons. And I'm like, were you planning on doing that? Or did you just get like the same reaction from tons of people, basically, like I just had, which is like, what? This? I don't want to see a picture of you. It's Batman Day, man. Come on, give us something.
Like, did you get bullied into releasing an actual photo because everybody just kind of went ballistic on you, and all of a sudden his Twitter just blew up with mind-numbing insults and cursing?
Like, I'm not saying I know that's what happened. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But
anyway. Oh, no, I know. It's all speculation at this point, but it would be funny if that was the case.
Right, because that was definitely my reaction. I'm like, oh, come on, man. I just ran on my phone for this, for a picture of you. Whatever.
Number 6.
Man, there's a lot of reasons why I wish that I could go to New York, because there's so many things I need to see and do there. But specifically, next month, we've got New York Comic-Con coming up. Mm-hmm. And they have announced some of the things that they're going to be showing at New York Comic-Con. And it's really starting to turn into San Diego Comic-Con, because they're getting a larger presence from their TV and film stuff that they start showing there. And in this instance, we've got news that Marvel will be at New York Comic-Con showing off their TV stuff. And what they happen to be bringing with them, they're going to be bringing Netflix's Iron Fist, the FX series of X-Men's Legion, and also the latest episode of, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I'm like so intrigued, because by that time, I believe the day that they're going to do the panel for all those are going to be on October 9th. So by that time, we'll have already had maybe a couple episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and we'll have seen all of Luke Cage, and we'll be like waiting for Legion, which premieres on October 9th, I believe. It might be later than that, but I believe it. No, you know what? Sorry. I think Legion starts next year. But the fact that they're bringing this stuff early, to me, is like they must have a lot of confidence and also want to get that word out there that they have these series. And I'm so curious to see the Iron Fist, because of the fact that Marvel and Netflix are on a roll with their series. And if Luke Cage is as good as I'm hoping it will be, it's just going to get me that more excited and being able to anticipate once we get Iron Fist. So being able to get to see some stuff would be super exciting to me. And Jascha, I know you have a cousin that lives in New York. Do you know if he's going to New York Comic-Con or not?
You know, he's really, really busy with work. He's an attorney, and we've talked about it a couple of times. But he's an attorney. He's trying to buy a house. Like, I mean, he's all over the place with so much stuff right now. Like, I know he would love to. He just doesn't have the time, because as we experienced this past summer, it is a very much a vacation, but job at the same time of, you know, walking around and being available to do all the stuff that you want to do. I'm trying to get him to come out here next year for San Diego Comic-Con. Honestly, he probably would have been out here this year, but he had a vacation plan with his girlfriend and some of the family this past summer, right at the same time. So hopefully, if that comes to pass, he'll be out here sooner or later to experience the full-fledged, you know, awesomeness that is Comic-Con. But I'm sure he'll hear about it in the city, like, and I'll talk to him about it for sure.
Yeah. I definitely would like to go to the New York Comic-Con at some point in time, just because it seems to be pretty big in and of itself, and it seems like it'd be another sort of experience just in general, just being in New York for that as well.
Yeah, it's growing for sure. I feel like every year it feels like it's getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Oh man, I heard this story this week, and it was the wildest thing I think I've heard in such a long time. And I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about it. So it looks like Fox has bought the rights for the life rights for Stan Lee. And so they're making a Stan Lee movie. But it's not like a straightforward, okay, this is how Stan Lee started, and this is how he built Marvel and got it off the ground, and here's his success, his rise, his fall, and his utter triumph over the industry and thing that he created. It's not even that. It's supposed to be an action adventure movie set in the 70s. So they describe it as like a cross between the Kingsman and like a 007 movie, a Roger Moore 007 movie.
Oh, I am officially out. Like, I am officially out. You
I don't know
when you said adventure. I'm like action adventure. I'm like, what?
Right. So I think I've heard, so on the surface of it, it does sound very oddball and weird. But then I heard other people talking about what the idea of it could be, in the sense of like kind of meta, in a way where it's like maybe you see Stan Lee has this double life where he's invented all these comic book characters, or he's in the process of inventing them, and he goes out on these missions. And as he's in these missions, he runs across a huge guy, and he's like, man, that's a hulk of a guy. And he's like, hey, I got this idea now. And it's like all these little things that kind of converge to make it seem sort of wacky but interesting at the same time. So after hearing about it a little bit and kind of letting it digest, I'm not saying it'll be great, but it has me interested to see what the hell they're talking about and what they're going to do with this, because it just seems so wacky and so out there that I would have never thought that this would be the movie about Stan Lee that we would get. I figured it'd be something straightforward about his life and how he started Marvel, or one of the people that started Marvel and all the comics and everything else. So I have no idea where where this will go, but it sounds like, Jascha, you're out from the start. Well, what about you, David?
I guess I'm kind of with you. I mean, there's no doubt my first reaction, you start telling us the story, is the same as Yasha's. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? Same thing. Like, that sounds ridiculous, but
it sounds so ridiculous.
It sounds crazy enough, though, and I'm interested to hear more and actually see it executed. Like, I don't know, because it's just so weird and different that maybe there's something behind this. Like, like so meta that maybe this could actually be unique and interesting, So I don't know. I'm on the fence at this point.
I am going to have to see one amazing trailer for me to be like, oh yeah, let's check that out. Yeah, I'm all in. I'm more interested in watching the television show Lethal Weapon than I am of seeing what's going on with this. I'm more interested in watching the sequel to 50 Shades of Grey without having seen the first movie, 50 Shades of Grey, than I am as to seeing this right now at this very moment.
Oh, that's saying a lot. Wow.
Saying a whole lot, and I'm standing by it.
Well, I'll just say that in reading this little blurb, it says, the project will be no biopic, but rather an adventure with Lee as the main character. Kingsman and more era James Bond movies had dapper heroes who quipped one-liners, and in Moore's case, flirted with the ladies as they sparred with larger-than-life evildoers. So it almost sounds like some sort of weird, quirky comic book that would have been made in the 70s kind of come to life when the writers would insert themselves into their comics with Fantastic Four or something like that. It sounds like it could be something along those lines. So we'll have to see. We'll see what happens with that.
Number 4.
We got word this week that it looks like Rogue One is dropping who they originally had as the composer for the film, and are going with Michael Giacchino. So Michael Giacchino, he will be replacing Alexander Desplat. I think that's how you say his last name.
Yeah, I believe so.
And this seems to be something that came up like out of nowhere, really, because at this point, the movie comes out in December. So I would think that part of the job would be in full swing. And I think the only thing that we had heard in terms of why Desplat was leaving was something about his schedule, or it was something that sounded
something with scheduling.
Yeah, which, like, really? How does that happen at this point in time?
And apparently the word I had read too was that it had something to do with the length of those reshoots, that because of that it pushed back the scoring session or something like that, which then started to create conflicts for him. Again, we don't know that that's really true, but that's how I heard it.
And it seems just so interesting in the fact that even with the reshoot thing, it's like they usually schedule out for a time for them to have reshoots that is, put into effect. So you kind of know going into it, hey, if this thing goes into these reshoots, maybe I shouldn't take this job just in case, because I have some other type of, engagements that I'm required to attend to. So, yeah, we don't really know. All we do know is that Michael Giacchino will be coming on to do the composing. And I mean, if that has to happen, I can't think of somebody else that I would want to do it other than John Williams, but he's a little busy himself. So Michael Giacchino taking over is good news. I'm okay with that. That's a choice.
I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this. Because Michael Giacchino's great. And you're right. Like I'm sad to lose the spot. But if you're going to replace him with somebody, sure, this is awesome. But then I wonder what it means, because, we've heard these stories about Rogue One and the reshoots, and we've heard a lot of different reasons why that's going on, some good, some bad. And we've heard the thing about how Disney doesn't seem happy with the tone of the movie compared to the original films, and they want to change the tone of it. And to me, this sounds like more evidence of that, because really, when you think of a composer, Giacchino does seem like a better fit for a Star Wars movie because he seems more John Williams-like, But the thing that's kind of upsetting is that, when I continue to hear news about Rogue One and the reshoots, is that I was looking forward to something that was going to be very different, a Gareth Edwards movie that was going to have a certain style we hadn't seen in a Star Wars movie before. And Desplat was part of that. He would definitely be a different composer for a Star Wars movie compared to John Williams. And now it's a shift toward a composer I feel that is more like John Williams. And it seems, could this be evidence of more of the kind of Disney wanting to control the feel of this, and they're not happy with the maybe a more unique artist perspective on a Star Wars movie, and they're kind of changing the tone of it. And hopefully the movie's still great, and I'm still excited about Rogue One. I mean, I have gushed about the footage of that movie on this show plenty, but even if after I see it and I love it, I'm still gonna wonder, man, is there a director's cut of this out there that I wish I could see and be like, man, this was so unique, and we'll never get to see that. I don't know. I wonder.
Yeah, well, it does make you think, and I'm more along the lines of thinking in terms of I'm just hoping for the best, that if there was a shift change in the way the tone is, that it won't be something that you just automatically feel like, yeah, this definitely doesn't feel like what we were sort of promised. I'm hoping that it's done in a way that's subtle enough to where they are happy with it, to where they wanted it to go, that it still retains a lot of the tone of what they were originally planning, just because it would feel different. And that's what the whole purpose of, I thought, these anthology movies were supposed to be, is that it's part of the Star Wars universe, but still its own tone and different feel than the regular saga, the regular trilogy of films that we are getting with this Force Awakens and the other two. So I don't know. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic at this point still, that we're going to get what we were promised.
And I mean, for those listening who aren't familiar with some of these names we're throwing around, like Michael Giacchino and Desplat, Michael Giacchino, he's done a lot of work with Pixar films. He's done a lot of work composing for J.J. Abrams films, like Super 8. He composed, I think, most of or all the music for Lost. He did all the Star Trek films so far, the rebooted films. That guy's been working a lot.
He's doing, I think he did Doctor Strange as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, they actually had him at the Marvel panel this year at Hall H and at Comic-Con, and talked about him. He wrote the new Marvel Studios theme.
That's right. Yeah.
And Desplat, he I don't know. I remember I feel like I remember him most for some of the stuff he did in the later Harry Potter movies. He also composed The King's Speech, the score to Argo. Definitely not as well known at this point, I would say, as Michael Giacchino, but I mean, still a very highly sought after composer. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there for those listening who may be like, who are these names? Who cares?
Sorry, number 3.
Number 3. So, if anyone was able to stay around for the post-credit scene during X-Men Apocalypse, they had a little teaser for something that was revealed as the Essex Corp. And now we know what that is involving. And it looks like it's the villain of Mr. Sinister, and he will be appearing in Wolverine 3. So if anyone knows that character or is familiar with the character, or if they're not, Mr. Sinister's big thing is he's a geneticist. Or is that how you say the word, actually? Someone who messes with genetics, or who's like a
geneticist?
Maybe? A geneticist.
I'm going to go with geneticist.
I like that way. So we'll go with
I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm going to say
that. So he's a geneticist that usually is always messing around with mutant DNA. He himself is not a mutant, but he is highly intelligent. I think he had been around since I want to say the Victorian age or something. Like he's made it so he's able to not really age and live a longer period than he should. And his whole thing is he always is usually a foil to Scott Summers or Cyclops. And he typically has messed around with Cyclops. And he also had created the clone of Jean Grey, which was Madeline Pryor. And Madeline Pryor and Scott Summers end up getting together, and they have a baby, which is named Cable. And there's that whole part of it that ties in. So in this iteration, I think, and spoiler alert for anyone that doesn't want to know this part, Mr. Sinister is involved with Wolverine in helping to create the character of X-23. So if anyone knows the comics or watched the X-Men Evolution cartoon, she is a female clone of Wolverine that has sort of like a sort of different type of a look to her claws. I think she has two claws that come out of her feet, and then two claws that come out on her hands, as opposed to the 3 that Wolverine has, and none on his feet. But yeah, so he's the villain, and he's like one of my favorite X-Men villains because he has a cool look about him, and he's just very much of intelligent kind of enemy, as opposed to, even though he's super powerful, he's not quite like the all about just a show of power. He's cunning. He's very smart and intelligent. So it'll be kind of cool to see him as the villain in this last Wolverine movie. So hopefully they do a better job with him than they did with Apocalypse.
Cool.
I hope so too. I mean, I feel like they're coming to the point where they have to try and pull out some of the cooler, lesser known villains, because they've been doing these movies for a while now, and there's only so many times that I think that they can rerun Magneto as the villain, or the Sentinels and that sort of thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, like you said, they're getting to the point where they're kind of going to start running out of some of the ones that are pretty popular as their villains. And if you're going to use them, you hopefully think that they were going to use them in the right way that will make them memorable as villains. Because even though everybody will kind of agree or give crap to Marvel for having subpar kind of villains in their movies, if you think about a lot of the comic book movies that we've had, even the DC ones, there still hasn't been really great villains. And so at least within this DCEU and within also some of the stuff, the best villains for the comic book stuff are coming out of the TV series or the Netflix series, really. So, yeah, hopefully if they do go ahead and use, or if they're using Mr. Sinister, I'm hoping that they use him in the proper way.
Yeah. Number 2.
Well, it looks like Miss Margot Robbie is about to be doing some more stuff with Warner Brothers, because she signed a first look deal with them. And man, I swear, Margot Robbie has had such a blessed career in such a short time because I was reading up on her and it was like her first thing obviously she did was The Wolf of Wall Street, and I'm sure everybody remembers her performance from that. And she was only 26 years old when she made that movie. And so, what, 3, 4 short years later, here she is signing a picture deal with Warner Brothers. And one of the things that's being developed out of that is a solo Harley Quinn movie. And I'm like, she's come a long way in such a short time. And good for her because she's awesome. I mean, she is the type that not only just has the look, but she can act. And I think she deserves everything that's coming her way in terms of this deal with Warner Brothers because she's more than proven that she's capable of hanging with anybody she's acting with. And she's able to also lend herself to being a name that people are starting to recognize and will go see a movie if she's in it. So good for her. I applaud the fact that she was able to get this deal with Warner Brothers.
Yeah, she plays off of leading men that have been acting for the past, what, 20 years incredibly well. Like she really holds her own against them, like talent, like Leonardo DiCaprio, Will Smith 2 times now.
Mhm.
But I mean, it wasn't overnight with the Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, that may have brought her to extreme extreme spotlight. But I mean, let's not forget she was on Pam Am, like a very failed television series, and you know,
Oh, I did
and she
forget.
did. And she did Neighbors for a couple of years. I'm not familiar with the show, but I know that she was on it. Just because I've looked at her things, but in a short period of time, it does feel like she has come from like kind of a character actor and kind of supporting to. She is definitely a leading lady.
Yeah.
You know that I
Number.
was gonna say real
Oh,
quick though, like
sorry.
sorry, sorry, Yasha. um, I was gonna say real quick too that side note that this reminds me, like I saw the music video the other day. Have you guys seen the Skrillex Rick Ross music video? I guess it's from the Suicide Squad soundtrack, the one with Jared Leto's Joker in it.
No.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Jared Leto is the Joker in like almost the entire music video. I hadn't seen it before until like a couple days ago, and you should check it out. And again, I'm watching it and I'm thinking I'm gonna be so upset if I never get to see this guy play Joker again because I really wonder. Like, I can't imagine that won't happen, but
Yeah, me either.
but
They
with
probably signed him to a multi-deal.
I'm sure they
So
did, but I mean, it's don't get me wrong, it's not like I should expect it to be anytime soon, but like right now, he's not going to appear in Justice League. He's not.
no.
Apparently, it doesn't sound like he'll probably appear in the Ben Affleck Batman solo film.
Nope.
So it's like, well, when? And I want more.
Probably
Yeah,
in the
when do
Harley
we get to
Quinn
really
movie.
see? Yeah, that's what I was
Probably, and
thinking
that's
too,
what I'm
Bobby. It's
hoping
like,
for, and that's the good news. But yeah, I was watching this, thinking about that. I think it was before that news dropped that I was just like this is gonna be such a bummer if it's a really long time. Because say what you will about Suicide Squad, and I definitely had my thoughts on that movie, but I loved that Joker, and I just want more of it so badly. And
yeah,
yeah,
I don't know if I
hopefully in the
loved it like as much as you did, David, but I am right there with you where it's like I definitely want to see more of it. Like I don't feel like we really got a chance to really appreciate what he was doing with that character. And with this movie of Harley Quinn coming out, I really hope that he's implemented into the story
yeah,
at least for 30 minutes. Like 30 minutes, I don't care if it's in spurts, but like 30 to 40 minutes of him having to be in this movie because I don't feel at this point in the game, especially since they've introduced her character Harley Quinn to the DCU and the film, and it's like I don't feel like you can have her be there and have her own movie without him having some role in the film or being a part. I feel like they are going to have to coincide with each other, even if it's on a subtext level where it's just like she just pops in for like 30 minutes or for 20 minutes or maybe even 15. I just feel like, you have to have these characters together at this point because they're introduced and everybody wants to see more.
right.
Well, and that's the thing too, right? You kind of have to because, as we've already sort of reasoned out, where's the next logical place you would ever see Joker if they've already kind of gone on record and saying he's not in Justice League and more than likely he's not in the Batman film, solo film. I mean, there's a chance because we don't know enough about that movie yet that he might make some sort of cameo. But the most other logical place is within the Harley Quinn film.
Mhm.
And let's face it, the Joker, he was never getting his own standalone movie. I mean,
No.
he's just not that character. But Harley Quinn is because she's that popular in the comics, and she can stand alone in her movie. Or if they do it in the way that they've sort of mentioned on the side, where it's like it'd be like a Birds of Prey kind of thing with her and Batgirl and one other character like a I forget who they
Poison Ivy.
mentioned, like Black Canary or something. I forget who they said.
Poison Ivy.
Poison Ivy. Yeah,
they're
so
always together.
there's definitely ways that they could do that for her as a solo film, but it is also a good way to expound upon the relationship between her and Joker and show him in there where he could have a little bit more time, but not to the point where he's overtaking the film, because he's not supposed to do that anyway. I mean, he's supposed to be compelling for sure as a villain, but not overtake a film. That's not his role. I mean, it's still supposed to be about Batman or Harley Quinn or whatever the case may be.
But sorry, Jascha, please carry on.
No, I've just felt.
No, I meant with the countdown. My bad. I interrupted your countdown.
God damn it! I can't. God damn it, David. Number 1.
All right. Well, there's some sad news. If you were holding your breath waiting for January to start watching the new Star Trek series, well, you might as well exhale or you're going to die, because it looks like we've got word that the new series from Star Trek Discovery from Brian Fuller will not be coming out in January as it was scheduled. It will be coming out in May of 2017. And me and at least David had been talking about this even way back at Comic-Con, at the fact that we really hadn't been hearing about a cast and not even about characters on the show. I mean, there could always have been something like released about 2 or 3 character descriptions, even if they didn't have actors on board. But we've gotten really nothing from this series yet. And so when the news came, it was like, yeah, I mean, of course, because what have they done yet? They haven't even started filming. So really, they were going to be ready by January? I doubt it. But the producers did come and give a statement. With the Alex Kurtzman and Brian Fuller, they said in a statement, we aim to dream big and deliver. And that means making sure the demands of physical and post-production for a show that takes place entirely in space and the need to meet an air date don't result in compromised quality. Before heading into production, we evaluated these realities with our partners at CBS, and they agreed. Star Trek deserves the very best, and these extra few months will help us achieve a vision we can all be proud of. Man, I mean, that just sounds like, how did you not have all that prepared when you first started the series and not giving us a date in January? I don't understand. To me, that means they're just kind of putting out that quote unquote, statement to just kind of save face, because to me it seems like it couldn't have been as simple as that, because we would have not ever gotten a January release date, I don't think. So
no,
I don't know,
but
it's me, or do you think something else is going on, David?
No, I agree. I mean, I think it sounds like, they definitely, for whatever reason that we don't know, things are moving along slower than they expected. Like, I got to imagine back when they really thought they were going to hit a January date, that casting would have already been done, and, shooting would have been much closer to happening. And for whatever reason, like, I'm sure they weren't ready to say, like, at Comic-Con, hey, we're already pushing this back, because they probably haven't really figured out those details yet. Because I do feel like at Comic-Con we were getting these mixed signals you'd hear from news outlets, like when news was coming out during Comic-Con, that, oh yeah, this is coming out in January. But like at the panel, I don't think that January was ever actually thrown out there. It was just 2017, because I'm guessing at that point, they probably already knew, hey, of course we got to push this back. We don't even have a cast, but they hadn't figured that out. And obviously now they have. Because, also, you would have thought they would have announced something like this back at the TCAs, and they didn't do it then either.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm absolutely certain there's more to the story than what we're hearing. But, of course, we're getting the the happy, hey, we just want more time to make it better version.
Which makes it funny too, because as they've sort of said, their whole way of kind of releasing this will be they're going to show the first episode on CBS, and then the subsequent episodes you'll only be able to see on CBS All Access. So that means the show will premiere in May, when it pretty much is the end of the season for shows. It'll be a summer show as opposed to a late spring early spring or early, late winter. Yeah. So it's just, I mean, like,
you would almost think at this point we just push it to the fall.
Yeah, I'm like wondering if that's what will ultimately end up happening.
Which will get annoying. Like, if you were going to push it to fall, you should have done that right off the bat.
Yeah,
which, don't get me wrong, that would be irritating. I would, even though I think we all knew based off of how little was going on with this that they're not going to hit January. Come on, this is crazy.
Yeah,
but so even knowing that, if your news item now was actually that, it's being pushed to fall, I'd be like, fuck, it's so far away. I was looking forward to this, but okay, fine, But yeah, if you move it to May and then you again push it again, then you're really going to start like irritating people. And because you're having to rely on people to not just watch it, but subscribe to CBS All Access. So, you're going to, of course, again, in the end, you're still going to get all your diehard Trekkies, but, you start to turn other people off, which are like, fuck this, man. You guys apparently don't know what you're doing. You keep pushing it back.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yep. Like, if you're debuting in the summer, is that a good time to debut a show on a not even on a network, but just on a new platform, so to speak? Not that it's new, but like in that way that they're doing it, because people are on vacation or people are doing other things or watching summer movies at that point. So, is that even a good time to release? But yeah, I don't know.
It's just sad because I've always been a believer in, like, you run that catch-22 situation. It's like delaying it might build the anticipation, but delaying it might also build resentment, and people might lose interest.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, I guess that's it for the countdown.
That's it for this week.
Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. As always, we would love to hear back from you guys. Send us your questions and comments. You can email us at feedback@flickereffect.com. You can also call us and leave us a voicemail at 407-308-5509. I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
And I'm Jascha Wilson.
Thanks for listening.